Welcome back, y'all, to another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. The episode today is a reminder, a grounding of a reflection to something that can feel a little irrelevant, academic, and that is the topic of philosophy. This podcast is a philosophical podcast, but as a father of three, as someone that is helping lead multiple businesses all right now. So I accidentally started a few. And an investor in over 100 startup founders that I help mentor, guide, advise as an investor. And as someone that creates, I can't stop myself, from music to this philosophy podcast and the other philosophy podcast, Yoga for Your Intellect, that I do with my teacher, Joseph. That one's more the conversational, 45-minute, 60-minute episodes. These are the daily reminders of 10 to 15-minute reminders within this timeless tradition of Advaita Vedanta and within this philosophy and with all of the practical surface area of where I apply this philosophy in all of those projects and all of those roles. This reflection is a reminder to what philosophy is. Studying philosophy, it's a lot like cultivating wisdom, is not this academic pursuit that we in the West usually think it is. It's usually relegated to memorizing people throughout history and their ideas. But not in the Vedantic sense. In the Vedantic sense, philosophy is clarity. Philosophy is certainly studying the words of the masters within this tradition. It is studying a text like Vedanta Treatise that I have in front of me. It is studying or listening to a lecture. It could be reading Socrates, St. Augustine. But much more than just listening, reading, remembering, it is reflecting, integrating these concepts into our lives. And what is the result of this pursuit? It should be clarity. The central contribution, practical contribution in our daily lives from this philosophy is that we have two inner equipments to navigate the world, the mind and the intellect. I mention this often on the podcast because it takes so many times for us to hear it before it really clicks. You have a body, of course. You have a mind. There's nothing revolutionary to hear. But this philosophy emphasizes that you have a subtler equipment, a more powerful equipment called the intellect to guide the mind. I always say we get close to this in the West where we say mindset matters or a frame of mind, but we never explicitly say what sets the mind, what frames our mind. What do you use to get into the right mindset? Do you just use more mind? And from the Vedantic lens, this philosophy is very clear. You have an equipment called an intellect to guide the mind. The mind is like a river. Intellect is the banks of the river. Weak banks, river floods, kills all the livestock, destroys the structures. But with strong banks, you could have the Mississippi and build multiple cities. You could have the Nile and build civilizations upon it if it has strong banks. If it doesn't, everything you build gets destroyed every 2, 3, 4 years. A powerful mind with a powerful intellect is the ultimate combination to navigate life. And the intellect is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. That's how it's defined in this philosophy. You could interchange wisdom in there. Wisdom is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. Wisdom is vision. It's sight. It is clarity. That's what philosophy is. Whenever we get off track and think, well, it's been a few weeks, maybe I should touch back into that philosophy that spoke to me. It's not useful because it's for some other time, for some other place, or for some conceptual curiosity. It's useful because it is clarity in the here and the now. Clarity in how we act. Clarity in what we ought to do. Clarity in the options before us, clarity in what generates energy within us, clarity in what dissipates energy within us. Sometimes we have to hear things 100 times before they click. And we certainly, growing up, heard 100 times, philosophy is this little ancillary thing to our daily lives that some people pursue in a cabin in the forest through solitude for some highfalutin reason. But that is not the point of philosophy. The point of philosophy is to see things clearly. A genuine pursuit of wisdom allows you to choose how to reply to an email. It allows you to choose with clarity this or that partner in life, this or that job, this or that action in response to something we didn't foresee, didn't like. It is mastery of our mind and it is control of our lives. It could not be more relevant. One of the unique things to note about this philosophy, this approach to philosophy with Advaita Vedanta, non-dual end of knowledge is what those two Sanskrit words mean. The other thing to note about this philosophical tradition is that it is so systematic, so elegantly systematic, that by pursuing it, by just studying the words of the masters, 10 to 15 minutes every morning, maybe 30 if you've got the time, maybe an hour if you've got the time, ideally before the sun rises, but even 10 to 15 minutes, studying, reflecting, contemplating on these concepts will systematically upgrade every aspect of your practical life. You might not even pursue it for the ultimate goal of realization, liberation, moksha, nirvana, enlightenment. You might just pursue it to elevate your approach to your day-to-day. And good Lord, does it do that. And why? Because it is a pursuit of clarity. And it is a rigorous, elegant, systematic approach to pursuing clarity. Aristotle once said, the most important thing we do is the cultivation of our character. Some translations, it's the most important work we do is the cultivation of our wisdom. People will nod and completely agree to that when they hear it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And yet, when asked how much of their week, how much of their month did they dedicate to the cultivation of their character, you might get confused looks. Here is a way to develop, to cultivate your character, to develop and cultivate one's clarity, their sight, their vision, their wisdom. Not only does it elevate, and when we reframe philosophy as a pursuit of clarity, it's really hard to toss it aside as irrelevant. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.